Video number 2 in the Write Your Book Using the Snap Sequence Method series. This is video 2, and today we're going to talk about creating a codex for your book. What is a codex? It's kind of like a Bible or a compendium. It's a living document that contains everything about your book. It's the plan for your book, it's the map, it's the outline, it's the details, it's everything. So what I first started using was just a plain notebook. I just grabbed a notebook and started writing everything down that I wanted to include in my book. The problem with that is you can't rearrange the pages, you can't insert new pages. You're pretty much stuck with the way it is. So I tried a loose leaf binder, you know, with the three-hole punch binder. That was just annoying. It's too big and bulky, or not big enough, depending. And it just seemed kind of sloppy with the 3 rings and the way the pages fit in there and things like that. I had heard of filofaxes before, and I also briefly tried like a 7-ring binder with the smaller pages. And I think that's kind of what a filofax is like. I'm not certain. Those are more popular over in England, so I don't know if I've ever really seen one. But then I discovered Levenger Circa notebooks, and that's what I still use for my codex. Let me show you. This one's going to be kind of messy because it's the book I just finished, and as you can tell from the cover here, that's not the title of the book. The title is The Sunshine Room. But when I started the codex, I didn't know what the title was going to be, so I just used a working title. And that's a horrible title, and I would never use it. But that's all I knew at the time was it's a story about Ellen and Althea. So that's what I used for a title. But a Levenger Circa notebook is bound with discs that look like this, and they just have kind of a little ridge around the edge. They're like little buttons, but with a ridge around the edge. And the paper has an edge like this. So when you're ready to, you build your notebook, so you build it whatever size you want. You stick all of these in, one in each of these little slots, and you end up with a notebook. So this is one that this is a leftover part of one, and it probably makes no sense at all if you're trying to read any of the words on it right now, but it just kind of shows you how it works and how it moves. And you can put anything in these notebooks, any paper. Here is a printout of a book I wrote before. This is my Pocket Full of Light book about our trip to Italy, and I went ahead and printed it on half sheets of paper. And then I punched it out and bound it with these little Circa discs and made myself a notebook out of it because I have the puncher. Of course I do. As I mentioned in the last video, I am addicted to office supplies, and that includes products like this. So I can punch any piece of paper and put it in my Circa Levenger notebook, or Levenger Circa notebook. Levenger makes different types of paper, and depending how you want to work with it. When I was writing Bookworms Anonymous, I used the smaller paper. It's called junior size, and you can see it's got a grid print on it, and it leaves a little margin here to write notes that you forgot. So this works great, and it's more portable, I found, in this size. So it's about a half-page size. And then Levenger, I should really be making money from Levenger because I sell their stuff all over the place. Whenever anyone asks me how I write a book, I mention Levenger. But anyway, this is the full letter size paper that I buy, and you can see it still has this blank margin here. And I just find that very useful because I'll be writing away and then all of a sudden I've got to insert something and I've got all this room and I can write whatever it is I forgot and draw a little arrow where it belongs or put a little symbol where it belongs or whatever. So that works out great. And the paper is very nice. It's smooth and nice and just awesome paper. And of course, pre-punched. And Lavender has a bunch of things that go in these notebooks as well. These are like little bookmarks, and these are great for jotting things that you may have forgotten and just sticking them in the part of your codex where they make sense. Lavender also makes covers, so this one has like a sturdy plastic cover on it, front and back. And they make, you know, pockets that go in here. So you need to go to Lavender.com and just shop around and become a frequent shopper like me. So I'll give you a brief tour of my codex for this latest book. And like I said, it's kind of sloppy because it's the end of the book. And I haven't looked in here in quite a while now. But just to give you an idea of some things to include in your codex. And you can see here I've got some tabs on the side. I just buy the Avery tabs. They're repositionable. And so then you can split up your codex into any sections that you want. I've got a section for each character, for instance. I have a section for the timeline. This timeline is just, you can see I used that margin here. And I just wrote the order of events, kind of a flyover kind of thing. You know, a view from way back, just showing the main events in the times so that I can make sure it makes sense. Some things you can't have happen before something else happens or whatever. And then I've got after that outline, I have just a longhand outline. Basically as if you're sitting there talking to a friend, telling them about the book. You're trying to give a brief synopsis, let's say. You're only going to talk for 5 to 10 minutes and try to explain the entire story. So I have all of that. This particular book has 2 storylines because there's a mother and a daughter, and they each have their own storyline. And the mother during the book is reunited with her estranged father, and the daughter finds her father that she didn't even know was still alive or didn't really know the whole story about him. So she finds that out. So that they both kind of go on this sort of a quest. And they both end up with meeting their fathers again or for the first time. And then I have outline notes. Okay, so then I have a section for each character. I have what I would consider 3 main characters, 2 super main characters, and then 1 kind of secondary character, I guess you'd call him. And then I have a list of minor characters, which I've got to tell you, you need to write this down about minor characters. You should have a list of your minor characters, their names, their ages, and something about their appearance. So even if they're only coming into the book for a paragraph or, you know, half a chapter, you need to have something, some sort of mark there that the reader will recognize that person and kind of get a picture in their mind of your minor character. So you need a couple of details. And when you're writing along and you suddenly realize, oh shoot, I have to mention that particular minor character one more time right here, and now I can't remember his name. Was it Bill or Bob? I don't even know. Well, you can go back to your list then and find out what it was that you called him in the first place. Then I have a section, well, I guess the main section would be research, but I had to research 2 different things here for this particular book. So I've got my research on the Dewey Decimal System here, and then my research on the story Little Women. Now this is going to look familiar to you if you have viewed video 1 in this series. Video 1 was called Story Origin, and it was about brainstorming for your book and starting your outline. And during the writing of this book, I had to revamp the whole entire thing. I didn't like the way it was unfolding. I didn't like the order of events as I was presenting them. I had to redo the entire outline and basically start over and write it again. So what I did is I did this outline, and as you can see with my 2 characters that I have, one character is in yellow and the other character is in blue. And then that's chapter by chapter. It's what happens in each chapter with my Post-it notes. So that helped me out a lot, and it got me back on track. So sometimes you have to kind of start over, but that's okay if that happens because you'll know what to do. And that is a codex, and one of the best things about having a codex is you can bring it everywhere with you. And every now and then, if you have a problem with your writing, and I may not have a good example in here, I don't, but you have a problem and you think to yourself, you know what I need? I just need to brainstorm. Just go to a blank page in your codex and just start a mind map. Just start brainstorming and circling and putting arrows and whatever. Just jot everything down, or go back to the Post-it note method. That always works. So you could have more of an outline. What I did with my first book is I had a separate section in my codex for each chapter. But that was a nonfiction book, and that worked out well for nonfiction books for me. And so each chapter had its own little outline and little section in there, things I didn't want to forget to include. And I would suggest that you check out Sean Coyne's book, The Story Grid, and just go look him up online. And he's got a lot of great ideas to keep your story on track, to make sure that you don't have any loose ends when you're finished, and to keep your plot moving. You know, something should happen in every chapter, and something should happen to at least one character in every chapter. Something should change for at least one character in every chapter, and he's got a really neat way to do that, and I went ahead and used his method when I wrote this book too, and I printed out the story grid that he provides online. And I stuck it in a pocket of my codex. So here's the story grid. And this made it so nice because you're able to kind of see your story and see what's going on. And you can, at a glance, sometimes you can see a problem. Oh, that was a map I printed. And you can tell what you need to fix. And so I really encourage you to check out Sean Coyne's work, The Story Grid. Thank you very much for viewing video 2. And I hope you join me for video 3 when we're going to go high tech. It's going to be time to put your pen and paper down for a little while, and we're going to start a Scrivener file, and I'm very excited to show you that. But for now, you do have homework again. Your homework is to find and buy a notebook that you can use, something you can rearrange the pages in. If you don't like the Levenger Circa, that's fine. If you can handle the loose leaf notebooks, that's great. But get something that you can write on, that you can change pages, insert pages, take them out, and go ahead and start your codex and set it up and start outlining and putting everything you can think of, everything you can imagine in there someplace. Even if you have one section that's just miscellaneous or who knows what, go ahead and do that. That is your homework. Thank you.